So for part one of this tech talk, prior to um, this tech talk, I had seen parts of the George Floyd video, um, but I hadn't watched it in its entirety, all 10 minutes of it. I'd seen posts all over social media and people have been talking about it, but it was just fragmented. Um, and I've posted not the actual video or any clips of the video itself, but um, I've posted um, posts about racial injustice and police brutality and the corruption of the system, and just how outrageous it is that this stuff keeps happening, and how um, the system of police is just corrupt. And so I talked about this incident with a lot of different people. I talked about it with coworkers, and I talked about it with my family, which was very different than talking about it with younger people my age, or even older than my age, but especially with my grandparents, who are very conservative, because I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, and um, my grandparents were just calling these protesters like bad people, and like completely not understanding why people were being so destructive and looting, and it was really frustrating to me. And I only talked about it with them for a little while because I was getting so upset. But most of my family definitely understands the uproar about this. After watching the video in its entirety, I feel really angry. I mean, I was already like really upset about the whole thing, but after seeing the entire video, I just like am so upset right now. I feel really so sad for George Floyd after this, and the bystanders that are trying to stop, and it's so obvious that like he's complying and they just won't relieve the pressure, and he's begging them and he can't breathe, and it's awful. And those law enforcement officers deserve the worst punishment. I'm glad they upgraded the charges, because third degree murder for the well, they weren't even originally charging the officers who weren't directly on his neck. So I'm glad that this protesting has achieved further charges for those officers. And this video really makes me like really feel the power of white privilege, and how different it is being an African American with police than it is when white people are pulled over with police. Like, I never fear for my life when I have to talk to a police officer or have been pulled over or anything, and it's just awful that they have to live in constant fear anytime they come in contact with law enforcement. Ugh. And this video, like, and this whole current event show how powerful camera phones are and citizen journalism. If we didn't have smartphones and a camera on us at all times, this would have just been another case with covered up as an autopsy that he had a heart attack, or it wasn't the officer's fault, and no one would have talked about it. But because of the power of social media and smartphones, the whole world has been able to see this, and I think that's really powerful. And sometimes smartphones can be, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a lot having everything recorded all the time, but in instances like this, I'm really grateful that it happened. And for part two, about the political demonstrations, I think the political demonstrations are completely justified. I'm really happy that so many people are protesting and getting out there and not just letting this be hushed away, and that this is a huge deal. I've never seen this be so big across the whole country. And these protests are actually getting things done and calling attention to it. And I've posted about the demonstrations on social media in support of them. And I don't think demonstrators should be arrested, charged, or convicted for ransacking stores. Because as Marc Lamont said in the video, the only way that anyone cares is if we feel, white people, as if we feel the same pain or like are upset the same way that Black people feel all the time. And those big corporations aren't out there protesting for rights. They're colonizing those neighborhoods, as he said himself. And I think their rage is definitely justified. That video was enraging. That was probably the most upsetting video I've ever seen. Something needs to happen, and no one listens when there's peaceful protests and sit-ins and marathons and hashtags. People only listen when things are extreme. So I definitely think it's justified. And would I frame these political demonstrations as protests or riots? I would say they're very angry protests. I've talked about it with my family and friends, of course, and my friends definitely support the protests, while my conservative part of my family doesn't quite understand the rage and anger. But I think they're a powerful form of protesting. Neither of the activists really changed my thinking of the political demonstrations because I was already in full support of them, but they did further reinforce why I believe that the protests are necessary. And for part 3, on Amy Cooper in Central Park, that situation is also totally enraging. I didn't post about that one on social media, but I did see it a lot, and I was like, wow, this Karen is just such a dumb white woman trying to weaponize her privilege and white fear. And it was so frustrating to even see that video. I'm so glad that she was recorded doing that, and I'm glad that she was fired from her job. She deserved to be fired from her job. That was blatantly racist, and she was trying to play some victim as if he was going to hurt her because she knew the power of being a white woman. And I care way more about the way she treated the Black man in the park. I mean, it's awful what she was doing to her dog as well, but she was trying to get him hurt just for the color of his skin, and she knew that she possibly had the power to do that. And no one should treat their dog that way either, so I hope her dog gets taken as well. I think she should be charged, I don't know, maybe for attempted murder, because it seemed like that's what she was going for. And she deserves this online criticism and hate speech because what she did was terrible. Marc Lamont, I feel like he helped vocalize thoughts that I agree with, and he just like put it into words, and I really liked his video and the way he talked about it. And after seeing the George Floyd video, I think something similar could have happened to Christian as well.
You were sleeping too while.
My little brother came in, and I had to cut the video right before the end. But as I was saying, I think something similar could have happened to Christian Cooper had he not been recording like that, and I'm just really glad he had his phone on him for that. And I think mass media is really helpful in dismantling this racially oppressive system right now. I think social media has been a huge factor in all these protests and spreading information, and I'm really glad to be a part of it. I'm going to continue to post about it and to spread information and learn more from other people, and donate. I'm really grateful because mass media has been really educational for me in this time, and I hope it's been educational for others as well. This whole situation is awful, and I'm glad that people are being so loud about it and not being quieted.